Thank you, Prime Minister. We'll now begin the question period. One question, one follow-up. First question goes to CBC.
How are you?
Very well.
Nazima Walji, CBC. How will you make sure provinces will be on board with this program? And dental care, pharmacare, now a national school food program, it all costs money. How do you make the case that this is something the government can afford?
This has been a point of debate with the Conservative Party, the Conservative opposition, over the past 8 years. We believe that confident countries invest in themselves, invest in their communities, invest in their people. That's what we've been doing. Yes, with access to pharmacare through specifically prescription contraceptives and insulin. These are things that are going to make us better off as a country. Making sure that seniors and young people who can't afford to go to the dentist can actually get their teeth fixed. That makes us better off as a country. Investing in $10 a day childcare, that makes us better off as a country. These are things that we are stepping up with as a government, not just because it's the nice thing to do, but it allows us to be more successful as an economy. It allows people to have the opportunity to achieve their dreams. These are the investments we're making, investments that the Conservative Party has consistently voted against. And when it comes to a national food program, which we promised in our 2021 election, we've recognized that every province and territory has its ways of delivering food programs to kids, but we also know the need is far greater than anyone is able to meet right now. So we're putting $1 billion forward to be sent out to provinces and territories to add 400,000 more kids across the country who will have fuller bellies in class, who will be able to go to school and know that they can focus on
It's not that I disagree with the idea of this. It's
learning and playing and not on the grumblings in their bellies. These are choices we are making as a government because we know that making sure that young people here get the best start in life, that teachers can be there supporting their kids in the most ambitious way possible, is how you build a strong economy, is how you build fairness for every generation. That's why we're here to do this.
Actually, wait, I do take that back.
Pierre Poilievre and the Conservatives wouldn't.
Yeah, because they would just rather the parents be able to afford the food in the first place.
Yeah,
How about you stop taxing everything?
Could you answer that in French as well?
Of course.
Thank you. On the federal carbon tax, it's not just the Conservatives who are calling for a pause. Premier Furey in Newfoundland has asked for a pause again today and asked for an emergency meeting to discuss alternatives to carbon tax. Will you hold such a meeting? And are you concerned the consensus you built on the carbon tax is falling apart?
First of all, let's be clear about what's happening right now. The price on pollution is increasing along with the Canada carbon rebate. We are effective in putting a price on pollution that is driving down emissions and leading the way not just in protecting the environment for the future, but on sparking the kinds of innovation and upgrades that companies and individuals are doing to their homes, to their businesses, so that we can be both better for the environment and more competitive. This is the kind of leadership that Canada is showing and has shown over the past 8 years as people around the world look to our success at transforming our economy to be less carbon emitting. We have a big plan on fighting climate change, but the price on pollution is a full third of that plan that makes a huge impact. But at the same time, we know that if we're putting a price on pollution, the cost cannot land on ordinary families across the country, which is why we're delivering a Canada carbon rebate that puts
any family that owns a small business, that business isn't getting the rebate.
Canadian families across the country in regions
just for the consumer. So any business is not getting a rebate.
With affordability.
He doesn't understand that.
So we're both fighting climate change in one of the most efficient ways possible and putting more money back in people's pockets with checks that arrive 4 times a year. The next Canada carbon rebate check is arriving on April 15th. So it's money in people's pockets while we continue stepping up in the fight against climate change.
So it's your hand in their pockets.
That's what we're doing. Now, Pierre Poilievre and the Conservatives are actually getting in the way of delivering the doubling of the rural top-up across the country. We committed to double the rural top-up for the Canada Carbon Rebate from 10 to 20%, but that's being blocked by the Conservatives, who are preventing money from getting in the pockets of Canadians right across the country who need that money, with the cost of groceries, with the cost of living going up
Freeland
right
just sitting in the back
board.
is so annoying.
So anything that Chair Poilievre and the Conservatives are talking about, worried about affordability or worried about climate change, is simply false, because they're blocking climate action and they're blocking money in people's pockets. And from the very beginning, we said that this is a federal backstop. We need the entire country to reach a similar level of stringency, of ambition in fighting against climate change, both because we need everyone to do their part, but also because it has to be fair right across the country. Wouldn't be fair for one region to have to pay more than a different region, which is why we brought in a federal backstop. A number of provinces said, no, we're going to do our own system or keep up with our own system. British Columbia, Quebec, even the Northwest Territories have their own approach to pricing pollution, which is just fine. Every other province has the opportunity, if they want, to create a system that is equivalent to what BC, what Quebec, and what the federal backstop is. Every province has had many opportunities to do that, and we're always open to work with them on a way that will put a price on pollution, will support families, but mostly will reach the same level of ambition of everywhere else across the country. So all those premiers that are busy complaining about the price on pollution, but not putting forward a concrete alternative that they think would be better for their communities, are just playing politics. Every province has the opportunity to put forward its own plan, as long as they are fighting climate change to the same level that we're asking all other Canadians to do. That's what a federal backstop is. But we're not seeing detailed plans from the premiers on this. They'd much rather try to complain about it and make political hay out of this. But Canadians know we need to fight climate change, and we need to be supporting people with more money in their pockets. That's what the federal backstop does. That's what the Canada Carbon Rebate that's landing in people's bank accounts as of April 15th is going to help them with. And that's a Canada Carbon Rebate, money in people's pockets, that Conservative politicians want to take away.
Thank you. Next question.
Hi there, Prime Minister. Good to see you.
Good to see you, Wyatt.
I'm going to switch gears for a moment here. The pro-Palestinian protests across the country have been prompting quite a bit of discussion, I think it's fair to say. You have some members of your caucus, like Anthony Housefather, who said he's both thinking about and reflecting on his future within the party. But then at the other end of that, you also have a very large many members, who are openly calling for a ceasefire. So I guess how do you as Prime Minister kind of balance such a polarizing issue, not just within your caucus, but within the country?
Well, I think you struck it exactly right. These are really difficult times and really difficult moments right across the country, where people have feelings of anger, feelings of grief, feelings of fear and concern, and very difficult conversations happening in communities across the country. I think it's sort of important that our political parties can actually be a reflection of the kinds of conversations going on in communities across the country. And it is a very good thing that we have both significant number of Jewish MPs and a significant number of Muslim MPs in our political party, because that allows us to have conversations that are the reflection of the kinds of conversations going on out there across the country. It is an incredibly difficult time. People are filled with senses of grief, of powerlessness, of anger, of frustration, and of course, people are allowed to, and we will always defend their rights to go out and express themselves and share their concerns and their anguish.
No, you don't.
With their fellow citizens. It's an important right that all Canadians have. And we're going to continue to make sure we're having those conversations in a way that eventually brings people back together. Because in all this, sometimes we're forgetting a little bit that our neighbors are also our fellow Canadians. And someone on the other side of the perspective is also hurting and grieving. And being able to pull people together and try and find solutions, not just for Canada, but for the world, is what this party and indeed this country is all about.
And then just kind of following up on that, obviously there were protests in Toronto over the weekend where there were a number of arrests made. Despite policing obviously being a provincial jurisdiction, a lot of people still turning to you for your perspective. I guess what steps will your government take, perhaps working with the provinces, to both balance the obligations of law enforcement with Canadians' rights to peacefully assemble and free speech?
Well, first of all, it is a fundamental right that people are able to protest freely in this country. It is really, really important in our democracy and in democracies around the world that people have that ability to mobilize, go out and express their concerns for policies here at home. Or
tell that to the Freedom Convoy.
Overseas. That's something that this government will always defend.
Sure.
And that protest needs to be done peacefully in a way that doesn't endanger other people's lives. We expect police to both obey the laws and enforce the laws. And that's something that I think is necessary. Just waving a Palestinian flag is not in itself something that is unacceptable or anti-Semitic. People are allowed to express their concerns on every side of the event. It's when you start making people feel unsafe in their neighborhoods, in their schools, in their communities, that we fall into things where police do need to lean in and make sure that everyone is safe and feels safe. But that is a balance that is ongoing every single day by police forces across the country. And as a federal government, we expect people to obey the law. We expect the police to obey the law, but we also expect the police to enforce the law.